Hello, and welcome to the Convoy podcast, where we are uniting through strength, innovation, and world-class facilities. My name is Eric, your host, alongside Taras Chavara, the owner, founder, and director of Convoy Strength, located here in San Diego, California. Today is December 16th, 2020. And we'll be discussing topics ranging from getting to know the owner a little bit, to the history of Convoy, and of course, how COVID-19 has impacted our facility. With that being said, Taras, how are you today?
Hey, Eric, thanks. I really appreciate you starting this podcast. First of all, I'm doing great. I'm up here in quarantine in Oregon, but it's awesome that we can still have this podcast.
Absolutely. I'm really glad to have you on for the podcast, especially because you're the owner, and it's extremely important to start creating that awareness of what we're doing and how we can start helping not only the community, but overall. So I want to get right into some of the meat and potatoes of what this podcast is about. And to do that, let's kind of establish a little bit of understanding of what Convoy is and kind of how Convoy kind of began. So without going into too much detail, how did Convoy come to be?
Yeah, and like you said, Eric, I wish we could talk about this all day long, but we're limited on time. Without getting into too much detail, because Convoy started way before 2015. People might not know this, but it really started in the park, just using old protein containers filled with sand as kettlebells. But kind of fast forward to 2015, I really wanted to find a location, and originally it was supposed to be just a small facility for my clients. I was getting tired of training at 3 different gyms and all the foot traffic and just people that were kind of getting in the way of what I was trying to do with my clients. It kind of took away from that private feel. So, basically I went out and I just cold called, a bunch of warehouses, and to try to find something that at the time it wasn't even supposed to be a gym. It was really supposed to be kind of like a warehouse where I could put my equipment and just train my clients. Leading up to it, I was buying and storing equipment in my garage to the point where I was slowly accumulating. I was trying to find good deals on Craigslist. I had a squat rack in there. I had a bunch of calibrated plates, some bars with me. So originally I found a place that I thought would work. It's about 1,000 square feet. It was like the size of a 3-car garage. It was tiny. It was this remote warehouse. And I reached out to the listing agent to try to see it. He showed it to me, and I told him, I want to try to put a gym in here. And he said, that's not going to be possible. There's already a gym in the complex. There's a CrossFit gym.
Yeah.
Literally. And I don't know if you remember the very first one, but right behind that wall was a CrossFit gym. And the landlord was like, I don't want a gym in here. So I actually reached out to the landlord myself personally, and I kind of oversold myself a little bit. I told him, hey, I'm a fitness facility. We're looking for a place. I have existing clientele. I told him I'm not a gym. It's a very specific, it's a private, one-on-one personal training. I'm not competing with CrossFit. And he gave me a chance, and I signed the lease that same week. So 2015, April, I signed the lease. I went out to Tractor Supply store, bought a bunch of stall mats. Me and my dad, we drove out there. We laid them down, and the very first kind of Convoy was born right there. And I didn't have a name for it yet. It was literally just a warehouse unit, some rubber stall mats, one squat rack that wasn't even bolted down. I actually had some plates kind of around it so that it wouldn't tip when my clients were squatting. I would actually have to hold the rack when my clients were unracking the weights. Eventually, I was able to, slowly buy tools and stuff that I needed to bolt the rack down. I painted it. And then within a couple of weeks, the word got out. I didn't even advertise it. It wasn't a gym. It was literally just me. I would go in there with my key, open the door, train my clients. And I started realizing that there's enough room in here for a couple people. So I started holding deadlift parties, me and a couple buddies that I would train with, 4, 5, 6 of us. We would just show up, and I would set aside a time. I think it was like Wednesdays, 6 p.m. We would all show up. We would all deadlift. And they loved the environment, the community that was starting to form. It wasn't a commercial gym. It was super private. It was small. And some of the guys started asking me, hey, can I come train here when you're not here? And I said, sure, why not? I just, they did offer to pay, obviously. So I created a PayPal where they could just send me money. I don't think I even had a real price in the beginning. It was more donations. I put a lockbox on the front door, and, one person went to 10. And then after that, I went up to 30. And at that point, I started creating a little more structure. I started thinking of a name and started actually brainstorming, hey, this could actually be a gym. It's not just a place for my clients. People enjoy the environment. And I'll leave the rest to another podcast. Like I said, I mean, we can literally talk about this for hours. So
Yep.
that was kind of how that's how the gym was born. It was from necessity.
Wow. Now, I mean, there's so much detail there that I think people just didn't even realize was kind of the beginning. And I think that it's definitely a topic we're going to want to dive into at some point in the future. So stick around if you guys are curious and want to know more about Convoy's history. Let us know. We'd love to make more content on that. But, definitely want to kind of move more into some of the lessons you learned and how we can turn those lessons into really valuable tools for other businesses. So, is there any real advice that you would give to other businesses, entrepreneurs that, are willing to start their own brand or that maybe have already started their own brand and that maybe feel like they need some help in some ways? Is there anything you can offer to them?
Yeah, and of course, I mean, there's obviously a million ways to run a business, to start a business, and that's what I like about it. There's not a structure. It's not you have to do this, this, and that. I mean, the creativity is up to you. But the one thing I would say, and Convoy Strength is actually not my first business. I've had 4 or 5 before this, and the one thing that I've noticed, the one common denominator is action, right? I mean, my favorite quote is paralysis by analysis. You can sit there and draw graphs, and you can chart things, and you can plan things, but at the end of the day, it's like Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, right? So one thing that I've learned is no matter how much you plan, things will always go the complete opposite. So you just got to just start wherever you are. It doesn't matter. Like I said, my first facility, right? It was just a warehouse that was like, it wasn't even a storage unit. It was tiny. And now we're in a giant, 5,000 square foot facility with, close to $200,000 worth of top of the line equipment. And that all started with just couple of dollars that I saved up, working minimum wage jobs, and you just got to start. I mean, that's the key is don't wait till everything's perfect. Just whatever vision you have, just start and run at it all in.
Yeah. I think those are no truer words have ever been spoken. I think so many of us, myself included, and this, we sometimes get caught up on, being able to draw stuff out and make stuff fancy and make stuff cool because, now those options are available to most of us. But that also creates a sense of paralysis where we now don't want to do anything. We just kind of want to be paralyzed and not know, hey, okay, well, now that I've got so many directions I want to go in, which way do I actually go? And I think that's, you being so grounded has been super important for me as the manager of the gym, but also just seeing the business actually start growing and moving and developing because your no excuse attitude of just, hey, let's get it done. Let's keep it simple. Let's roll it out. Let's do what we can. And that's kind of why we're here doing what we're doing today with this podcast. So really exciting stuff. And I think there's a lot of lessons that you can learn from just actually putting in the work and doing stuff versus just constantly thinking about it. One of the topics that, we want to move into is going to be relating to COVID-19. I think that's a really good example of that lesson in of itself is, this was a huge, what seemed to be insurmountable mountain that we had to climb as a business. So I kind of want to get some of your takeaways. We've had a lot of challenges, more challenges than most gyms have. And so I kind of wanted to get your opinion on how we can continue to grow and innovate and things that we've already done and how that's really changed the game, especially in this landscape that we're currently in with COVID still very much ravaging most of the United States.
Yeah, definitely, Eric. And just kind of going off of the previous point as far as action. I mean, really, it's not just so much starting a business, but keeping it going and going into COVID. I mean, it's been the only reason why we continue to grow and succeed is because of action, right? I mean, it's really easy to kind of sit back and fear is a very real thing. I'm not discrediting it, but we cannot let it control us. We have to be mindful of it, know that it's there. I mean, I'll be honest, Eric, since March, I've been terrified. I've been terrified of losing everything I've worked for. But you have to just be aware of that fear, put it aside and say, okay, I know it's there, but I have to do what I have to do. I have to make those very difficult decisions. So kind of going back into March, I think this whole thing kind of snuck up on all of us. I mean, nobody predicted this, right? I mean, it's kind of as far as timing goes, January, actually a year past our schedule when we were supposed to move into this new location. Finally, everything gets situated. And we can talk about this in another podcast as far as the obstacles of moving into Convoy 3.0. It was a year-long process.
Yeah.
Major obstacles. And finally, we overcame these huge hurdles. I mean, I literally at one point, I was told by every single broker in San Diego that there's nobody that wants to do a gym right now because of zoning. So, but we'll talk about that another time. But so essentially in January, we moved into this new location. I put a ton of money into it. I think I spent $60,000, between my own personal money that I've saved up, the business from the profits from the year before that, and a loan on top of that, maxed out all my credit cards. I'm all in on this, since the very beginning. Absolutely. People don't realize the liability that I carry as an owner on this. It's easy to say that I'm not there every single day, but at the end of the day, I'm the one with a $500,000 lease over my head, right? Mm-hmm. So we went into this in January. We had a very successful launch. We had tons of people wanting to sign up. And literally not even a month into it, we get these orders to shut down because of COVID. The facility is so brand new. There's still equipment in boxes that we haven't unboxed yet, and now we have to shut down. And the biggest challenge for that was, well, we just spent all this energy, time, and money in expanding, and now we have to literally freeze all our operations. My landlord was not really cooperating with me as far as trying to figure out a plan. Nobody knew what to do. Everybody was just sitting, just watching the news, watching the numbers stack up, watching, in fear, right? So for the first 2 months, I did nothing. I did nothing at all. I contracted as a business, and I kind of receded back. And a lot of it was fear, and a lot of it was there's just no direction. Nobody, as far as I remember in my lifetime, there's never been a time when businesses had to shut down because of a pandemic. But I knew that there had to be a way around this, right? We can't just sit back and just wait for the government to take care of us because, the harsh reality is as a small little business, nobody really cares if we don't make it, right? And unfortunately, so many small businesses have gone bankrupt, have closed their doors permanently. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't allow Convoy Strength to go down that path. It's always going to have a special place in my heart. And I couldn't wait. I couldn't watch it do that. So I reached out to my attorney, and she's been awesome I've known her for years and years and years, Melissa from Uplift Law, and she's dedicated her whole practice to helping small businesses. So she has been a huge part in helping us overcome all these obstacles. So I reached out to her and I said, hey, Melissa, I got to do something. What can we do? It's been 2 months. We're not getting any directions. I reached out to the city commissioner myself, the county, asking for directions, right? Yeah, I got denied for loans. Basically, when it comes to small businesses, here's a harsh reality. Again, nobody really cares, right? It's up to the business to take care of themselves. Nobody's gonna bail you out, right? You're not a huge bank. So we restructured everything. And Eric, you've been awesome. This is kind of the time when you really started to shine and really starting to find your place at Convoy. And the reason why I chose you to kind of take over the day-to-day operations is because you were so willing to help. You really saw the vision of Convoy Strength and you just wanted to grow. So, we started taking action. We redraft all our policies, all the contracts for the employees, for contracts for the members. As far as COVID, we have to navigate not only around the legal side of it, but also the safety, right? I don't want to be the gym responsible for spreading this deadly disease or however way you want to think of it. I didn't want to be responsible for contributing to the problem, right? I wanted to offer a solution. Absolutely. So how can we operate safely? That was my question: is how can we continue to do business, grow, and do it safely? And Mo has been awesome. Like I said, we moved the gym around. We went to an online scheduling system where all the members had to schedule an appointment. I hired somebody to come out of the professional crew to clean the gym 3 times a week. Literally to deep scrub everything, sanitize everything. We purchased all new cleaning equipment, which was not easy to do back in April, May, as there was just nothing available. So I had to, I had to call every single place, what do you guys have available that will be sufficient in cleaning the gym equipment against spread of this virus? And we restructured the entire gym in 1 month. I would say the whole business model has changed. And then we ended up opening in May under all these new guidelines, and we received nothing but positive feedback. The members are super appreciative that we are taking all these extra steps to not only provide a facility for them to train at, because it's a home for them. It's not a business. A lot of people think a gym is not essential. But the argument that I'm trying to make is that it is essential, which is part of the reason of this lawsuit that we'll get into later. But we did it safely. We have been audited multiple times, and every time somebody from the city, from the county, the sheriff's office, whoever it is, they show up, they're blown away about all these steps that we've taken. Because I haven't seen many gyms that are doing anything, let alone going above and beyond to what can we do for the members? How can we make them feel safe, right? I mean, the biggest thing is confidence. We want the members to know when they come into Convoy Strength that not only are they going to be able to train, but they're going to be, we care about them. We care about their health, care about their safety, and we care about their success in the facility.
Those are all really good points. And, to draw off some of those points too, I think it's really important to recognize that I think a lot of people already kind of understood, corporate gyms, these big box gyms, as somewhat dirty places where, there's lots of equipment that people use, hundreds of people use on a regular basis. And so, obviously seeing that kind of perspective, or at least that kind of understanding of what a big box or corporate gyms are, it's definitely a complete shell shock when you've got these auditors and these code enforcement people coming in and they see a completely different kind of gym. We are very much different in the sense of we offer more specific training tools, more barbells, more dumbbells, more kettlebells, less machines, less cardio equipment. And I think that's one of the biggest things is almost retraining or teaching people like there is something other than these big box gyms that are out there, something that offers you safer alternatives, someone that's willing to fight for you and your health. Because that's really what we're doing is we're fighting for people's ability to be able to train and to be safe. And I think that's so important. And I have to commend you and all the work that I know you do behind the scenes, and Melissa too, because I know she's always working. It's just been such a wild ride. And I think our members see it. And I think if people don't know about it and you're just maybe just tuning in and seeing this podcast for the first time, maybe you don't know what Convoy is. We've really, really tried to make sure that we're not trying to say we're above the law, right? We're not trying to say we're better than the law. We are adapting to what they're asking of us. We're trying to make sure people are safe. We're trying to make sure that people have a place to train, that they can feel confident and tell their friends and say, no, this is a safe place to come in and be able to work out. It's definitely been an amazing road so far. And I'd love to kind of talk more about the lawsuit that is kind of undergoing right now in California with a lot of small businesses, and Melissa being kind of the representative as far as her company and what that kind of vision for the future is.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a very, it's a sensitive topic because it's bold, right? I mean, there's some businesses that have done this, but kind of what we're trying to do with Melissa's guidance, obviously she's taking full charge on this thing. And I commend her for everything that she's doing. She's truly fighting for the little guys, right? And so far I can't talk too much about the detail of the lawsuit, obviously, because it's ongoing. Yeah. But I can talk about why, right? Why are we doing this? We're not defying the government. That's what I want to be very clear. I'm not suing the governor and the government because I'm like anti-government or something. I'm very much not, right? I think there's a place for the government. And one thing that I've always kind of believed in, life isn't fair, right? We know that. However, government has to be. It absolutely has to be fair. It cannot pick favorites. So this is kind of our opportunity to be heard, right? I mean, there's 4 million small businesses in our state alone. Yeah. And it's very difficult for us to be heard and not be filtered out by these huge corporations. So this lawsuit is kind of a way for us to get on the map and get our voice heard, because this country really is built on small businesses, right? It's not built on corporations. There's so many small businesses, and this is how they make a living. So we need to make sure that we have a seat at the table when it comes to policy making, lawmaking. We want to be heard, because it's not a black and white, either close or open. There is a lot of in between. There's a lot of gray areas. There's a lot of there's areas where, for example, our business, right? I mean, we've been getting orders to shut down, but when we get audited, we get commended on how well we are kind of tackling this whole COVID thing. Right. So it's like there should be more discretion. And that's really what this whole lawsuit is for, is to make sure we're heard and that justice is served. And it's really freedom, right? Freedom for us as a small business to make sure we can operate. And if we can do so safely, and we are providing value to people in our community, especially in this pandemic, and we are providing health, right? We're encouraging people's health. So that's what this is about. It's about being heard.
Yeah, I am 100% in agreement with you there as far as being heard. It just oftentimes feels like when it comes to small businesses, it's almost like it's like trickle down rules. It's like they put out these blanket statements and rules for everyone instead of kind of going in and really saying, hey, you are a different classification of what is a gym. And I think that this lawsuit is really going to open a lot of people's eyes to what gyms are. There are so many different kinds of gyms, variations of gyms. And I think it's important that we have proper representation for private small businesses like ours, because it's definitely in a lot of instances hasn't been fair. And we're not here to talk about, what's fair, what's not fair, because we're going to adapt and do what we can to move forward regardless. But it's definitely something we want to make sure we keep an eye on, because proper representation is important, especially in the society we live in currently.
You're 100% right, Eric. And that's really what this is we want to make sure that we can continue to operate as a small business long after this pandemic. Is we want to make sure we can thrive. And going back to the whole theme of this whole podcast is it's going to come down to action. Right. Mm-hmm. I mean, if we just contract and nobody's going to help us out. I mean, that's what it's going to come down to. We have to take action. We can kind of reassess the situation, but at the end of the day, we have to adapt. We have to grow, and we have to continuously expand as a business so we can survive in this world. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are just so many small businesses that aren't as fortunate as our business, and, have shut their doors forever, like you mentioned previously. And at the end of the day, any way that we can provide value and help other people, regardless if you're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, or you're just someone that's looking for a gym that's trying to better themselves and not be constantly tied down, it's definitely important. One of the things that I kind of want to move into as the latter half of the segment for the podcast today is kind of the direction we're moving in, right? So this is obviously episode 1 of our podcast. We've got many more that we want to do, so many different directions and topics that we can talk about for hours. But without going into too much detail, what is the direction that we're heading into for Convoy as far as 2021? What are some of those goals and objectives, some benchmarks that you have for the gym, maybe some of its members? What are those goals that you really feel we need to accomplish in 2021?
Yeah, that's a good question. And there's a lot of different angles to that. And I think part of it is, one is making sure that we have a space of this in the market, right? And, really making ourselves known. And the goal is expansion. I mean, the goal is expansion every single way. And really kind of, we sat down, me and you, Eric, and we kind of created a mission statement.
Yep.
And the reason why, behind it, you might see some of these things and it's like, well, what do you mean innovation? What's Convoy doing that's different? And one of the things that probably nobody knows about, because I've been quiet about this for the past 2 years, but along with my dad, we have been kind of working on an in-house system. It's a software and a hardware system that does that no other gym does. And it originally came out as a necessity. I mean, the very first one was a lockbox with a key in there. You had to punch the code and take the key out, open the door. And now It's evolved into this massive, massive software that my dad is a complete genius that he wrote behind in me working with him as far as what does the gym need. And I truly believe by having that system, it will allow us to operate efficiently. And that's part of the reason why we're able to keep growing and expanding, is because everything on the back end is far, far above. I mean, we're talking about a system that's, it's a small business for the gym, but the system that runs it is capable of, it's massive, right?
Yeah.
So piggybacking off of that, the goal for 2021 is expansion, right? We are going to get multiple facilities, right? This is not the only one. It's like we double the space from the last one, and we're operating close to maximum capacity already. So there's definitely a lot of interest. People like what we have to offer, and that's our plan. We want to run at this full force, have multiple facilities here in San Diego alone. So that's one area right there. The second one is obviously kind of making ourselves more known in the digital space as far as social media. This podcast, we just launched our online store for merchandise, so we're really going to be tackling that on as well. People have been asking us for more clothing, more merchandise, more apparel, stuff like that. So you're only going to see more and more of that show up. Coaching, we want to become more personalized as a facility, not just here's a gym, here's a couple barbells. We want to be very hands-on. Right now we have 2 really good coaches that we've been working on, and we're still kind of quiet about it because we're trying to figure out a system that's going to give our members the most value that we can possibly deliver, and continue to give that value, whether it be on one-on-one coaching, creating content, YouTube videos. I mean, you're really going to see Convoy Strength all over the place, because our goal for 2021 is massive expansion. We've already been doing interviews kind of going into this new year, as far as going into somebody that's working in the facility or also the back end. We found a really awesome photographer, digital marketing, website design. I mean, we're really kind of doing a whole rehaul of Convoy Strength and the brand.
Yeah, I think that, in 2020, when we first initially moved into 3.0, all of these were ideas and directions that we wanted to move in. But obviously with external circumstances playing into fact, it kind of gave us time, really. I think COVID-19 has given a lot of people extra amount of time to sit down and reevaluate their personal goals, their professional goals, develop their own self and really work on, really being more grateful, I think, as a whole, because COVID has taken so much from us. It's taken a lot of our freedoms, a lot of our leisures. So I think COVID especially has given us a lot of time to sit down, you and me together, as you mentioned previously, really building out our mission statement, really building out our core values, building out our goals. And I think people are really going to start seeing that in the new year, 2021, as we move forward, because our biggest thing is expansion and moving forward digitally, moving forward physically, providing more value in person and online, and really moving forward with all the goals we initially had in the beginning of this year when we moved into this initial third location. But now we have much better foundation and a much better platform to start really informing and educating a lot of our members and non-members alike. So it's really, really exciting. And we hope that you all are going to join us for this journey. If you don't already follow us, there's going to be lots of places you can follow us, and we'll kind of talk about those in closing. Before we finish off, is there any other topics or points that you want to hit on?
Of course, there's so many, right? I don't want to drag this on too long.
Yeah.
I do want to kind of talk about the mission statement that we have, and we sat down and we figured out what is Convoy Strength about, what is the vision, what do we want to ground ourselves in, because it's not going to be just about, oh, here's another gym. I want to be more of there's got to be a reason behind it. There's got to be a vision. So do you want to kind of briefly read over our mission statement, our core values and our goals, and then we can just slowly touch on those and then move on?
Yeah, I would absolutely love to. So our main mission statement is as follows: uniting through strength, innovation, and world-class facilities. So let's go ahead and start with that one, specifically uniting through strength, innovation, and bringing together world-class facilities. How does all that play in together, and how does that really create a mission for us to handle moving forward?
Yeah, and I love that mission statement. It really encompasses what we're trying to do. And the biggest thing is Convoy Strength's community. I want it to be a home for people. Right. It's not just a corporate gym where you can go in there and it's overcrowded. Right. Mm-hmm. I want it to be a second home for people. Right. So uniting people through strength. My whole thing from the very beginning has always been respect, and we'll kind of get into that next. But I want to unite people through a common goal. And that's, if you want to come into the facility and you just want to get stronger and you can show respect to the facility and your members, you are welcome here. Right. I don't want to pick favorites. It's not about that. It's not about being choosing who's going to be able to train here because it's some sort of an elite community. It's not. I want it to be for everybody who just wants to get stronger. I mean, that's our bottom goal.
Yeah. And, moving on from that point to our main core values, we really believe that these core values instill what truly is going to make everyone better. It's going to allow us to unify and come together. And those core values go as follow, treat others the way they want to be treated. It's really important that we understand we're living in a world where things are always evolving, and we have to make sure we understand and we hear the other person and make sure we treat them appropriately, just like we want to be treated when people approach us or communicate with us. Respect. That's so important, to always be respectful, not only to others, but to the equipment and to the facility. Be grateful and understand that, we have to make sure that we're in this together, and being respectful is really important overall. And then, of course, build your legacy. I mean, what are we doing right now? We're building the future for ourselves and for others. And, we may not have a convoy in another state right now, but, in a couple of years, there'll be convoys in multiple states. And those are people that are going to go to those locations, and they're going to have an opportunity to build their path, to forge their legacy. And I think that's super important. For you personally, I know these core values really are important, and I'd love to hear, how they mean so much to you individually.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, respect is the biggest thing. Everything I've ever done, and I mean, even from the very beginning of Convoy, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that have different opinions about it. There's been a lot of internal drama, but the one thing that I keep trying to push is that I just don't tolerate disrespect. Whether it be towards the facility or each other. I don't care what your beliefs are. I don't care. Everybody's gonna have. There's so many people that have different personalities. And at the end of the day, if you come in here and you disrespect other people for whatever reason, you're not going to be welcome at Convoy. And I think we've made that very clear, and we've seen that. We've seen that turnover. If somebody's not going to respect our rules, I mean, especially this whole COVID thing, right? I mean, there's been a lot of people that are choosing not to follow the mask policy, right? And to us, it's I don't care what you believe in. right? I mean, it's not about that. You have to at least respect the facility and us as a business, because the bottom line is, whether or not you believe about this whole COVID situation, and believe me, I hate wearing masks. But if that's what it means that we can operate as a business safely for our members, you gotta respect that. You gotta respect our rules. And if you don't have respect for the facility, the rules, and each other and the other members, then this facility is not for you. So that's why, I mean, that to me, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as the goals are concerned for our mission statement, they're equally as important, and they read as follows. We want to encourage personal growth. We want people to come to the facility, receive value, and hopefully use that value and better their lives. So personal growth is really important. We also want to start providing world-class facilities, facilities that are welcoming, that are open, that have this. Every single facility has this community, and that people want to go in and train and become stronger and become better, to better themselves. It's super important. And then, of course, we want to always promote strength, integrity, respect, and unity. We always want to make sure people understand that we have a vision, we have goals, and to be a part of this vision, you have to be in line with our goals. And a lot of people are. So how do those goals kind of coincide with what you're feeling as far as the gym?
One thing I would say is, it's not that we want to provide a world-class facility. I think we do, right? I think Convoy Strength is definitely the leader when it comes to a facility that's caters to powerlifting, weightlifting, strength training. Everything that we get, we don't cut any corners, right? The last piece of equipment that's coming in, it's actually the last one I was able to track down, the Lico 2.0 combo rack, right? we had to cut corners in the very, very beginning where I only had, a little bit of cash, but now I reinvest as much as I possibly can back into the facility when it comes to the equipment, right?
Yep.
And our members will see that pretty soon. We just spent a ton of money on brand new equipment. Like I said, a brand new 2.0 combo rack, the last one available that I could actually find. We were fortunate enough to be able to order that, as well as some other stuff that we're working on. We're working on a competition platform is going to mimic a real powerlifting meet 2-spec platform, combo rack, bars, plates, everything.
Yep.
You really got to we want to be able to provide the best equipment that we possibly can get our hands on. So I would say we're already doing that. We're already living it.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you want to go over before we begin to wrap up the podcast here, Taras?
I think it's a good start. Hopefully more people can tune in and listen to our story. There's so many little things that I want to be able to share with people, and I think a lot of people can benefit from it, especially other small businesses. Kind of moving forward, we are going to get a lot of guest speakers on our podcast. We've already had a lot of interest from other small businesses, and just to kind of see how they navigated through, not only from how they started, but through COVID as well. I'm sure there's a lot of businesses right now that are struggling, and unfortunately, there's not that many resources for small businesses. I know there's a lot of alleged funding out there, but it's nowhere to be found. It's nowhere to be found, right?
Yeah.
I know I was personally denied for every single loan that I put out for because we're just too small. So I know there's a lot of businesses that are trying to make it. So keep listening. We'll try our best to share our story and how other businesses can benefit from what we've done.
Absolutely. Well, I want to take a moment to thank our listeners for tuning into our very first Convoy podcast. And again, I want to thank you, Taras, for joining us and talking about you, the gym, the past, the present, and even some of the future content and projects that we're working on here at Convoy. I want to mention that if you guys want to follow us, our Instagram is convoy_strength. That's CONVOY_strength, STRENGTH. That's really going to be the best place to find us on Instagram. And of course, our website, convoystrength.com, where you can actually inquire for membership if you live here locally in San Diego, California, and you're looking for an amazing place to train. Stay tuned and to make sure you stay updated with us, as we'll be releasing more podcasts in the future. And this has been your host, Eric, signing off. Stay safe out there and happy holidays.